Climate change is humanity's significant urgency of now. Yes, it is. The whole world, as we speak today, is under the heat. As a result of the changing climate, millions of people across the entire world have been plunged into suffering. Cyclones and floods, hurricanes and droughts are visible to each and every one of us. But we cannot just sit and watch these things happen when the science is telling us that if we do not apply emergency brakes, the world will be heading towards a point of no return. It is therefore necessary that we take this responsibility, which is already weighing down on the shoulders of each and every citizen on this planet Earth, more than ever before. Today, I will discuss what we need to do and why the urgency of now is something we can no longer postpone. I will be right back. Some time ago, in the early 1900s, before climate change monster, a marvel of technology and opulence of the time was unveiled. This was the largest and most sumptuous luxury liner that had ever sailed. A monument of technology and elegance, the Titanic was so magnificent that it was thought to be unsinkable. And so it was. That at its maiden voyage, it set sail against all the warnings of rough seas. Its passengers, the high and mighty of society at the time, had no care of the rough seas, considering themselves safe and secure in a liner built as unsinkable. But in the dead of the night, when the ship finally succumbed to nature, it came too late for over 1,500 souls that perished. To date, with most advance of technology, there is no ship that has ever been built with a guarantee of being unsinkable. My message is simple. The simple message today is that we can never ever defy nature and escape, and climate change is the constant reminder of our times. The science has been consistent and profound on the compounding effects of the changing climate today. The science has been unequivocal, and our continued indifference to it is unfortunately risking repeating the history of those who tried to defy nature and failed with grave consequences. This is something we must take seriously. Yes, we must. The latest series of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report have been yet another screaming reminder that the globe continues to tread on ever-thinning ice. As far as climate change is concerned, we urgently, as we speak today, need to act. Yes, to act differently to salvage continental and global development from a catastrophic end far worse than that of the Titanic. 3 weeks ago, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, released the Working Group 3 report titled Climate Change 2022. Mitigation of Climate Change, the Working Group 3 contribution to the 6th Assessment Report. The report sounded yet another urgency, making it clear that unless there are immediate and deep greenhouse gas emission reductions across all sectors, 1.5 degree will be beyond our reach. This report outlines how emissions can be reduced by having critical sectors and how humanity can improve its chances for success. This is humanity's most significant urgency of now. This is the bleak and this is the brutal truth of how far we have come with ignoring the signals, of how far we have come with a continuous caution of what we must do and not do, and we are not taking it seriously. The deafness given to science has put humanity on the path of worsening hunger, on the path of disease, economic collapse, mass migration of people, unbearable heat as we see across the world. The other clear message from this report is that every single action to cut emissions counts, and every fraction of a degree matters. Yes, it matters. The world is currently heading for a 2.7 degree of warming under the current plans that countries have submitted. That is a death sentence for climate vulnerable countries, for climate vulnerable continent like Africa. No amount of adaptation can compensate for the terrible consequences of failing to hit the Paris goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees. This is a survival target, and it remains within our grasp, but just barely. Climate change is causing extreme weather disasters, and now their causes are piling up. As we speak today, millions of citizens in the eastern part of Africa are currently on the brink of a hunger catastrophe. But even as this happened, the status of implementation of climate actions remain bleak. There is a huge gap between the adaptation actions taken today and what is needed. The speed of action is also lacking, and the actions are uneven. There is a need for urgency in action and continuous reduction in emissions level. Adaptation is a business opportunity because we know that with every $1 invested in ecological restoration creates up to $30 in economic benefit. That's a 30-fold return. And for every $1 invested in climate adaptation, investors will have up to $10 net economic benefit. Investing today $1.8 trillion globally in just 8 years will generate up to $7.1 trillion in return. Without adaptation actions, the inequality gap will widen, and climate change will push more than 100 million people below the poverty line in just 8 years from today. But we need net zero transition by both the public and the private sector. We need that as the most aggressive approach to achieving the global climate ambition. It is urgent and requires more urgency to be engaged. We need more urgency to engage each and every one. We cannot tackle climate change later. We must clamp down on emissions now or face more catastrophic disasters, season after season, year after year, decade after decade. This is our own fierce urgency of now. We cannot be able to postpone, but to apply emergency brakes, because this is the most significant humanity emergency that has ever happened in the entire world. We can no longer say we will do it tomorrow. No, we have to do it today. We can no longer say others have to do it. No, all of us have to do it. The world is a shared space where nobody is going to be free from climate change impacts, droughts, floods, hurricanes, and typhoons until we all take action. That moment is not tomorrow, it is now. Let's take action. Thank you.